Let me ask you something. When nobody's watching, who are you? Not your Instagram, not your job, not your money, not your religion, not your reputation, not the version of yourself you perform for other people. I'm asking, who are you when there's nobody to impress? Because there's something strange about being human. We create identities, and then we forget we created them. Wake up. Think about the mask. In ancient theaters, masks were used to represent characters. The word persona itself became associated with the role or character a person presents. And that's exactly what we do. We put on a different version of ourselves, depending on where we are. There's a version of you at work, there's a version with your family, there's a version with your friends, there's a version online, there's a version when you're alone, different environments, different masks. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. We all have roles, we all adapt. That's part of being human. And here's where it gets interesting. What happens when you forget you're wearing the mask? What happens when the role becomes so familiar? You start calling it me. That's where the esoteric traditions become fascinating. Mystical traditions have repeatedly questioned the difference between the surface identity and the deeper self, the personality and the awareness behind it, the character and the observer, the mask and the one wearing it. I'm not saying there's one universal answer. I'm saying the question keeps appearing. Who is behind the id entity? Look at your own life. Maybe you were told you were the smart one, so you built your identity around being smart. Maybe you were told you were difficult, so you learned to see yourself as difficult. So now, failure terrifies you. Maybe you were rejected and eventually you started believing there was something wrong with you. The story was repeated, and eventually the story became your identity. That's powerful, because once something becomes part of your identity, you'll often defend it, even when it hurts you. You can become loyal to an old version of yourself, simply because it's familiar. That's why change can feel like death. You're not changing a habit, you're threatening an identity. And then the ego doesn't always care whether an identity is healthy. It cares whether the identity feels familiar. That's why people sometimes return to the same relationships, the same arguments, the same patterns, the same limitations. Because at least they're known. Familiarity can feel like safety, even when it isn't. Now remember what we talked about in episode 30. Attention feeds patterns. So ask yourself, what identity have you been feeding? I am the angry one. I am the unlucky one. I am the successful one. I am the broken one. I am the spiritual one. I am the intelligent one. I am the victim. I am the outsider. Maybe those statements describe parts of your experience. But are they actually the whole of you? Or are they masks you're becoming incredibly good at wearing? That's the question. And here's where I want you to slow down. Because I'm not telling you to destroy your ego. I'm telling you to reject your personality. I'm not telling you to become some emotionless spiritual being. I'm asking you to become aware of the distinction. You have a personality, but you can observe your personality. You have thoughts, but you can observe your thoughts. You have emotions, but you can observe your emotions. You have an identity, but you can question your identity. So, who is doing the observing? Sit with it. Don't rush past it. Because the moment you can observe something, you've created a little space between yourself and it. And inside that space, there's a choice. That's where freedom begins. Not when you control everything outside of yourself, when you become conscious enough to choose your response. That's awakening. Not becoming perfect, becoming aware. So here's something I want you to try tonight. When you're alone, put your phone down, sit somewhere quiet, and ask yourself, who am I when I don't need anyone to see me? Don't answer immediately. Just watch what comes up. The job, the memories, the fear, the ambitions, the labels, stories. Let them come up. And then ask again. Who is aware of all of this? That question has been sitting at the center of mystical philosophy for a very long time. And maybe there's a reason. Because the deeper you investigate yourself, the harder it becomes to reduce yourself to a single label. You're more complicated than the story you've ever been given. More fluid than the identity you've inherited. And maybe more aware than you've realized. So if this made you question the identity you've been carrying, like this video, comment, I am not my mask, and follow for the next layer. Subscribe to the YouTube channel too, because the long form wake up episodes are where we're going to take these ideas apart properly. And if you're ready to go deeper than the videos, I've put the deeper material into the Hidden Codes of Energy and Power, the Universal Laws Master Guide, and the 30-day Self-Mastery Challenge. You'll find all three through the first link in my profile. And if you want to actually sit down and have a conversation with me, you can also book a private one-on-one session through that same link. But don't take my word for any of this. Investigate yourself. Because the goal isn't for you to replace somebody else's belief system with mine. The goal is awareness. Question the mask, question the story, question the identity. And then, look at what's left when you stop performing. Because maybe the most powerful thing you can discover is that you were never the only person you were pretending to be. Wake up.